Hello, I'm Catherine Sines, the president of the Rotary Club of Hudson. Rotary is a professional organization of a group of men and women who support Rotary International. We also join together by a common interest of service to our Hudson community, and we have a sincere desire to give back. We meet weekly on Wednesdays at Laurel Lake Retirement Community, 200 Laurel Lake Drive, in their dining room. We meet from 7:30 to 8:30 and would like to invite you to join us. For more information about Rotary, go to www.rotaryhudson.org. Enjoy the following excerpts from one of our recent meetings and consider joining us on Wednesday morning.
Good morning, Rotarians.
Good morning, Ron.
And guests. Ron Strobel, the Sergeant at Arms, and welcome to the Hudson Rotary this morning on this beautiful, almost December day. Still a good day for golf. Our invocation this morning is by Phil Tobin.
Thank you, Ron. Good morning, members.
Good morning. Good morning.
We just passed Thanksgiving, so this is really a reflection of what might have happened a week ago had we had our meeting. But it's about Thanksgiving. God of life and love, we lift our hearts to you in praise and thanksgiving. We bless you for the goodness and beauty of creation, for the rhythm of sunrises and sunsets, for the patterns of colors and textures of growing things that sustain our help in the abundance of what is yet to come. We bless you for the landscape of our lives, for our successes and our failures, for the friends and enemies who weave a mosaic through our life. We praise you for all your works. We ask for grateful hearts and spirit of generosity. Free us from being stingy with words of praise and affirmation and our acts of forgiveness. Open us to the abundance of life and love you set before us. In your name we ask it. Amen. Amen. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Phil. Very nice. To lead us in the pledge and the four-way test this morning, Dan Filburn.
Okay, how about the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test. Is this the truth? Second. Is it third? Fourth. Will be beneficial to all concerned.
4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You get to do it next week.
Thank you, Dan. And to take care of the song situation this morning, Catherine is going to do something.
Kelly volunteered.
Yeah, I won't. Again.
She's going to trip.
Good morning, Rotarians. Today is Fine Day, and we're going to do it to honor the veterans. On your tables, you'll see there's a paper about USO, and you'll hear a little more about that USO dinner that the fines are going to go to. But my husband's a Vietnam veteran, and recently he had a reunion, and I made this YouTube that we're going to play as our song. And if you know the song Hallelujah, you can sing along with it. But it has pictures, his Vietnam veteran pictures, and some of you have met my husband. Okay, some of these pictures are him. So. That's Bob.
You didn't know just what would happen to you. Stepped in the dirt, boots on the ground, and gunfire was the only sound. And to yourself, you whispered hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah.
And now our president, Catherine Sines.
Good morning, Rotarians again. I just wanted to share that that was very emotional for the Vietnam veterans when they saw it, and it brought back a lot of memories and made you think about what they did go through and what we were doing there. So this morning we have no guest, so Chris Barker has no guest to announce. Our first announcement is going to be Tom Page. Tom's going to talk a little bit about the fall fundraiser.
Good morning. Good morning, Tom. I have to tell you, Catherine, I started tearing up. I had a brother, an older brother that was in Cambodia, and he's no longer with us right now, but that brought back some good memories. Thanks. Appreciate it. Fall fundraiser. Okay, you've had time to eat. You've had time to play. Now it's time to go to work. You got 3 weeks left. I'm starting to see some order forms coming in with good stuff on it. This is an order form. If you need it, come see me. I'm right back there with Ron and the guys, okay? We're gonna do well this year. I know you will. If some of you captains haven't called people on your team, please do. You know, say hello, ask them how things are going, and help them along. It's really not a big thing. They won't be offended if you call them. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, at least send an email to them, okay? Does anybody have any questions at all about the fall fundraiser?
What day are we picking it up?
It's going to be Wednesday, December 20th.
And once again, for those giving checks, what's the amount and to whom did
Well, it's to Hudson Rotary Foundation. And if you aren't buying any roses and or caramel corn, then we're looking for a minimum of a $100 donation. Okay? And that's all I have. Okay. Next week, Jim Ahern's going to call on the captains to give an update on where they're at. Right, Jim? Yep. Okay.
And next we have our grapevine master. Oh, before we do that, I'm supposed to remind everybody that the doors don't open till 7 o'clock. Laura Lake said that, you know, people have been coming in a little bit earlier. They don't want the doors unlocked because they'd had some problems before, but there is a phone. If you get here a few minutes before, if you call the phone, security will come. Now the fine master.
First thing I'll do is pass around our sign-up sheet for Santa on the Green so you can be reminded of your shift. If you haven't signed up yet, you can put your name down next to anything or just show up. We're there from 9 until 3. And again, it is a fun event. We're at the gazebo. It looks like the weather's going to be chilly, but dry. So we will be full throttle on Saturday. So we're looking forward to that. And once again, if there's a conflict or something, just let me know so we can get a replacement for you. Okay, I'm going to talk, a little bit about Santa on the Green again. We get 20 families per hour, a total of 120 families. So we're actually have over 300 kids that come and spend a little time with Santa. It's a great background. The pictures that parents get, I'm sure, are really nice because there's a Christmas tree behind Mr. and Mrs. Claus. They arrive at 9 o'clock by the old fire engine, and it is, again, one of our traditional events. This has been going on for a very long time. Jimmy took it over in 2001. And we've had it since then, so it continues to be a good thing. We normally have about 4 people on a shift. We have somebody that's handling the numbers and keeping Santa reminded that we have 2 minutes per family, because sometimes it goes a little bit longer. We have people on candy canes, hot chocolate, and also they help the families or take a picture. So everybody, again, that participates enjoys it, and we look forward to this coming Saturday for that event. All right. The cause for Fine Day, as Catherine mentioned, is the USO Adopt a Unit. And the Hudson Schools have adopted the 737th Forward Support Company Army National Guard. And this is, I think, the 3rd year, right, Catherine? For this. And they have a breakfast for them. The middle school packs candy. They have 300 bags of candy that they put out. They decorate the middle school commons for the event, for the holidays, and the high school, the staff bakes things for the event, and the kids raise money to put on the students raise money to put on the event. This is a memorable day for those and honors those who live among us, yet serve at a moment's notice when called upon by our country. So Catherine mentioned that you do have something on your table to further do that. So please open up your wallets for this particular Fine Day for that cause. The hat that I'm wearing right now, this is a transition week. We're going from Thanksgiving into the holiday season in December. So by powers invested in me by the Rotary Club of Hudson, we decree that this will be Thanksmas week, combination of the two. So therefore, I have the Thanksgiving buckle on my hat, and we are reminded of that. The other thing I'd like to remind you is, a lot of people get carried away, the holidays, and I hope you take my lead and don't go overboard with this stuff, with what's coming up with the holidays and that type of stuff. So kind of pace yourself. Be subtle. Excellent, excellent. We have no pins and no badges. Donna and Chris are going to collect, so if you don't have your pin or badge on, please raise your dollar so they can start the fundraising process. While we're doing that, I'm reminded that Tom Page has bailed. He signed up on the list and is now not going to attend because of a little conflict of going to the Ohio State-Wisconsin game. Now, that's not bad enough. The bad part is he's rooting for Wisconsin. So, Tom, take out your wallet there, and I think we're going to have you pay $2 for that one, big guy. Okay. The Hub News. Once again, if you turn to the Hub on a weekly basis, you'll see that normally and they say it's not a contest, but Rich Warfield and Gail Royster are prominently featured in the paper just about every week. And on the 12th of November, Rich had a trifecta. 3 pictures. The third one was his, the picks, and he's leading the picks. And I have talked to people, at his company, and unfortunately for them, he locks himself in his office, and for hours each day, he says he's working on his picks. The only problem, they say, is he's got a lazy boy in there with a 65-inch TV, so they're not sure of how much work is getting done, or even with the picks. But Rich is there, and again, unfortunately, he doesn't have a pin in any one of those pictures. And Gail, one measly picture in that same issue. Very, very sad display. Please pay $1 over there for a distant second. Oh, you don't have to pay 3. You can put 5 in there if you want. We had our councilmen that were reelected, and then most of you have seen this beautiful ad for their campaign. And again, Dan and Bill are active members. Hal, no longer, but a great guy. The 2 of our guys do not have their pins on. So Dan, if you could pay for yourself and for Bill, since he's not here, pay $1 for each. And the only reason he won is because of the massive turnout of this group to put those guys over the top in regards to their thing. So a nice round of applause for our guys there. In the Sunday issue, I think we had the Taste of Hudson grants were passed out a couple weeks ago, and we had a picture of the committee in there, and David Basil and Ed Sogan were prominently featured in the picture. Unfortunately, neither one of them had a pin on, so if you could pay $1 there, David. Again, thanks to everybody that participated in the Taste of Hudson. This was the biggest year in regards to our grants. We gave away $50,000 worth of grants, and most of you remember that Jim helped start that organization. So this was an outstanding year, and again, the volunteers make this thing happen, and the success of the event was outstanding. Also in that particular publication was Jim Ahern accepting a grant for the job search that he helps run. And unfortunately, there was no picture of Jim. I guess I was fortunate for everybody, but there was no picture. And in the little paragraph that he talked about job search, he never once mentioned being a Rotarian. So pay $1 over there, will you? Jeez Louise. Holy cow. All right. Oh, last Sunday's hub had President Catherine Sines and Derek Cluse pictured in there talking about the new middle school. And again, it would have been a perfect time for Catherine to mention being the president of Rotary, and she never even had one word about that, so pay $1 over there, Catherine. I can't believe that. That was a great opportunity for us. Okay. Getting to business at hand, we've got the Bad Boys table. Once again, we're close enough over here that we can listen to the Bad Boys table. And one of the members at the table were bragging about having an all-nighter. And most of us remember that in college as we studied throughout the night. Well, for this particular individual, it's taking on a different definition. At this point in life, an all-nighter is going the whole night without going to the bathroom. Enough of the potty humor from this group. If you could all pay $1 for that. Over at the bad girls table, and it did fill up over there. They're hiding now because they know they're going to be picked on. But I did lend an ear to a story about Thanksgiving. One of the ladies there she and her husband had taken a trip for Thanksgiving to Chicago, and on the way back, they were coming back on the turnpike and stopped for dinner at a restaurant. And he had a nice dinner and then jumped it back in the car. And about 40 minutes into the trip home from the restaurant, this particular member of the Bad Girls table realized that she had left her prescription reading glasses on the table and told her husband, and this is what pursued from there. He was not a happy camper, needless to say. And this is on the turnpike. It took several miles to find an exit, to finally turn around. He grumbled and mumbled the whole way back to that restaurant. And the more he mumbled, the madder he got. And they finally arrived mercifully back at the restaurant. And our Rotarian jumped out of the car and started to hustle toward the restaurant. And he rolled down the window and he said, "Well, while you're in there, pick up my hat and credit card." Okay, we have this month's trivia contest. Again, we're dividing the group over here. You're on one side, this is on the other. You'll have 5 seconds to answer the question correctly. If you answer the question correctly, they pay $1. If you do not, you hear the buzzer, you pay $1. This is related to Thanksgiving. What did the mother turkey say to her disobedient children? This is an easy one. Bam. If your father could see you now, he would turn over in his gravy. Pay a buck. Get those dollars up there, please. I can't believe you didn't get that one. That was an easy one. This one's even easier on this side. What kind of tan did the pilgrims get at the beach? Bam. A Puritan. Get it? Puritan. Oh, come on. Oh, geez, you guys are terrible. Oh, my. Find me for. Okay, back over on this side. Gail's got her dollar out already. Good. Or she's still waiting to be collected. If the pilgrims came on the good ship Mayflower, what did the teacher float in on? Bob? Scholarships. Get it? Scholarships. All right, a buck. Andy, don't moan about that, buddy. I heard your jokes. Jeez Louise. Okay, back over here. Chris, you ready for this? Are you trying to break a $100 bill for Tom? Jeez Louise. Just give us the 100, Tom. Why did the turkey sit on the tomahawk? Bam. To hatch it. Get it? Oh, jeez, I'll tell you. Here, I'll throw a couple bucks at you.
We want your something back.
Ooh. Okay, where's Doug McDowell? He's sitting back here. Okay, Doug's got a. Doug McDowell told me that his family told him at Thanksgiving to stop telling Thanksgiving jokes. Doug told them he couldn't quit cold turkey. Pay a buck there, Doug. Oh my goodness. All right, let's have our military veterans stand again and be recognized. I know we've done this before, but if you served in our armed forces, please stand and have a round of applause. Please remain standing. What branches of the armed service do we have? Navy? Army? Air Force? Who's in the Air Force? Back there, man. George? Army. Okay. Congratulations and thank you, gentlemen, for your service. Joe Zabatowski, what branch of service? Army. Joe had a drill sergeant that had just chewed him out. As he was walking away, he turned back to Joe and said, I guess when I die, you'll come back and dance on my grave. Joe replied, not me, Sarge. No, sir. I promised myself when I got out of the Army, I'd never wait in another line. Okay, this could be any one of our presidents. Please don't blame this on the current one, but the Secretary of Defense was briefing the president in the Oval Office, and he said, oh, finally, sir, 3 Brazilian soldiers were killed in Afghanistan today. The president was shocked. He turned pale. He was stunned. He buried his hands in his face, and he started muttering to himself. Mr. President, the secretary said, this is terrible, but we do lose soldiers in war. I've never seen you so upset. What's the matter? The president looks up and says, how many is a Brazilian? What was that? These are good ones. These are, ooh, I think there's a hook coming out here. Remember the cause that we're raising this money for, please. Okay, Jim Young, what branch of the service? Okay, Jim was stationed at the Pentagon. Most of you didn't know that. And he was working late one evening, and he walked out of his office, and it was 8 o'clock at night. And he sees a general standing by the classified document shredder. He was in the hallway with a piece of paper in his hand. The general asked, do you know how to use this thing? Yes, sir, General. He said, my secretary has gone home, and I'm not sure exactly how to run it. Yes, sir, said the young officer. Mr. Young, who turns on the machine, takes the paper from the general and feeds it in. Now, said the general, I just need one copy. Jim, pay $1 for shredding up that document there. Holy cow. Okay, we got Rotary birthdays. Could have the following birthday people stand? Donna Kastner had her birthday on the 4th. David Basel and Kelly Brennan on the 22nd. If you could please, again, remain standing. Let's sing happy birthday. Again, Dick Pearsall's not here. We don't want great tone. We just want good volume.
All right. Hold it. Can't do this without the proper. No. Okay, here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Thank you very much. Rotary anniversaries. Matt LaFountain, I don't think I saw him. 2 years. Jay Yard is 2 years. Jim Hackney, 16 years. Gail Royster, 25 years as a Rotarian. Let's have a nice round of applause. At this time, we have happy news. If you can make a little donation, wave your hand, we'll call on you, and you can tell some happy news about you, your family, or what's going on in your life. Look at that happy news. Phil.
This relates to thanking you for your service, but Lowe's and Home Depot offer a 10% discount for military. And this is a true story. I was going through the line there one time, and I asked for my 10% discount, military discount. She said, what service were you in? And I said, the Confederate Navy. And you know what she said to me? Thank you for your service.
Anybody else with good news, happy news? That was pretty darn happy. Okay.
I'll donate a $1 just for the better joke than.
What? These are priceless. Okay, I'm going to give 5 because I'm finally done. The last thing I'll do is give you the quote for my quote for the day. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. John F. Kennedy. Have a great day, guys. See you on Saturday.
Thank you, Ed. He makes a great fine master. And next, our speaker, George Snyder, is going to introduce our speaker for today.
Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Rotarians. While I can't reveal her age, I can note that our speaker this morning, who is Donna Kastner, who you just heard from Ed, was born earlier this month in some previous year, and has been a Rotarian since March of 2010. Donna has lent her considerable marketing and graphic design talents to the club, to the gala, and is a current member of the Hudson Rotary Foundation. As you also saw this morning, she's a greeter and a collector for Ed Sogan. So Donna has been a very active Rotarian since joining us some 7 years ago. In private life, she is a marketing consultant who helps trade show organizers turn casual attendees into raving fans. She is also a frequent speaker at conferences on strategic meeting design. Now, with the launch of retirepreneur.com, Donna is championing a movement to reinvent work in retirement. Her objective is to help professionals age 50 plus make a smooth transition from full-time employment to part-time consulting gigs, doing work that they enjoy. Clearly, most of us in this room fall into the 50-plus category, so her message is right on target this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Rotary welcome to our fellow Rotarian, Donna Kastner.
What a nice intro. Good morning, Rotarians. So that birthday I just had, it was a biggie. It was a real biggie. I was like 60. Whoa, this is 60. Holy cow. So that might kind of give you a little frame of reference on this is something that I'm thinking about very intently as far as how I will continue to work. And I'm also becoming abundantly aware that I can't run around like a maniac without taking a break every now and then and kind of resting and getting charged up for the next run. So some of you may remember when I joined Rotary 7 years ago, I had this wild idea called Retirepreneur. It was just this thought that I was watching the recession, I was watching boomers getting laid off from jobs, I was seeing all kinds of turbulence happening for boomers, and I thought, well, I've always been doing side consulting gigs or full-out consulting enterprise, but why wouldn't other people think of this? So I did what any enterprising entrepreneur would do. I snagged the URL, but I didn't really think through who is this audience and what would they desire. I made some assumptions about entrepreneurialism and people, and I'm now 7 years later, and hopefully 7 years wiser, that first of all, there's a strong need to reinvent retirement, and it's very unique for every individual. An abrupt stop at age 65-ish no longer makes sense. It's not healthy. It's not, so I'm championing, a movement to start to craft a more elegant and graceful downshift. So just to kind of give you a hunch on where we're headed today and what we're going to talk about, here we go. So I want to just get into why, do we really need to reinvent retirement? And then who is this best for when we start to look at this entrepreneurial path? Retirepreneur was relaunched a year ago. So way back when I joined Rotary, I just had this crazy idea, and everybody was like, she's just a little off. But I got clarity that there was a particular persona that really was a great fit for this. So I relaunched Retirepreneur. I was hyper-focused on pre-retirees, people in their late 50s, early 60s, working full-time jobs in fields where there was high demand and candidate pools were light, and really helping them think through how they might segue to this next encore chapter. And so it started with a website, and I'll talk a little bit later about what we did. So why would I champion this movement? 37 years of my career now. I started as a high school band director in Dayton, Ohio, and then Michigan, and then New Jersey. 5 years of that, and we started a family. And when I took a sabbatical, a 1-year sabbatical from my teaching gig, just to kind of think through what am I going to do next. And New Jersey was certainly not an inexpensive place to live, and my husband was working and doing his MBA at night and trying to figure out, okay, what do I do next? Going back to teaching, I would be spending the majority of my income paying for childcare, and it just didn't make sense financially for me as a new teacher. And at the time, you may see this, does anyone know what that little IBM contraption down there is? Anybody recognize it? Yeah. IBM PC Junior. Remember the Charlie Chaplin, commercials? And this was going to revolutionize computing, a home computer. I bought one and started a book typesetting business in New Jersey because it was perfect. I could feed the baby, do whatever I needed to do, and when he napped, I could type away and typeset my manuscripts. So I worked out a deal with a local publisher. I was typesetting book manuscripts. It went so well that he wanted more and more, and I just recruited about a half a dozen work-at-home moms and trained them, and they got on their IBM PC Juniors, and they were typing away, and it was a great gig. I loved it. It was, and I will tell you one trait of people that are looking to reinvent retirement that want to go this entrepreneurial path. I'm not hyper tacky, but you got to be a little more forward-leaning on technology, and that's going to be helpful in streamlining and allowing you to do things from home in an efficient manner. But that PC Junior, I crack up because my father-in-law would actually bring people to our house. You got to come to my daughter-in-law's house. She has a computer in her dining room. So then I'm doing all these things, and I ended up, so that chapter, so I have a husband. We relocated 9 times before we landed in Hudson over the course of 15 years. So for someone like me, it was a chance to reinvent myself each time, which wasn't a bad thing. I look back, sometimes I would look throughout my career and say I have the most eclectic, crazy quilt career path. No one would plan this. Yet I feel in some wild way it's prepared me to tackle this reinventing retirement challenge because I've seen a number of different industries from a number of different perspectives. In the mid-90s, I had an opportunity, and it's one of those things where like doors open and you're like, okay. There was a local group of investors, not local, these were 3 big investors. They were taking $500,000 and investing it in an infomercial that they saw. Infomercials were taking off. Richard Simmons, all this crazy stuff, if you remember the 90s, where they're selling you everything at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so they wanted to do an infomercial, and they were looking at different ideas, and I happened to talk to someone that was involved in that project, and they were not landing on a great idea. And I'm like, got to tell you, this work-at-home thing, anyone I talk to wants to do it. And I think a work-at-home program would be awesome. And they're like, would you like to pitch that? And I did, and fast forward, I was the crazy person that they decided to invest in. That is our celebrity spokesperson and a much thinner, younger Donna in Beverly Hills, California. Filming our infomercial. Allie Mills, the mom from the Wonder Years, was our celebrity spokesperson. We did this infomercial. It aired at 3 o'clock in the morning. I heard from long-lost friends, prison inmates that wanted to start a home-based business, government officials. It was amazing, that thing. And the wild thing with infomercials is there's no we kind of made it. You either nail it or you're out, because the media spend is so expensive. But it was an incredible experience. I learned a lot through that. And then fast forward, in the last 15 years, I've been involved in the trade show industry, and I help with experience design. And it finally hit me in the last couple of years. I need to go back to this retirepreneur path. I really need to champion in this movement. And it certainly has to date been a ministry. But I think what I'm looking to do is to live my path and journey, which is unfolding as we speak, more transparently in an effort to help others learn as I learn. So why reinvent? Okay, I mentioned it earlier. Stopping at age 65 just doesn't make sense. In 1900, in fact, maybe we can collect some more fines, Ed. In 1900, what was the average lifespan? What do you think?
64, 63.
Mr. Strobel is very, very close. 47.
47.
47. In 1935, when Social Security was launched, it was 61.7. Which meant that the majority of people that would never live long enough to collect. Fast forward to 2000, what do you think the average lifespan was? 77. So in a century, we gained 30 years on the lifespan clock. And now in the last couple of decades, we're on average gaining 3 to 5 years every decade, thanks to research. I think that people are living healthier lives. They're more tuned in to those things. So they're taking steps themselves. And then, all these things are swirling together to create an incredible environment. I host a podcast for Retirepreneur, and I was talking to an expert on longevity and medical issues, and he said the person that will live to 150 has likely already been born. How's that for a mind blower? So, so 65, we're going to... There you go. Joe, we got it. We got to make sure he's keeping an eye on you there. But I think 65, when you think about, just even 100, they say that, 25% of the people that reach 65 will make it to 100. They're starting to do some statistics and predictions. So stopping at 65, you got potentially 3 decades or more. Now, having just crossed that 60 threshold, I'm realizing I need to load balance and slow down just a tad. I'm not 23, so that's okay too. But I think finding some kind of good middle ground is important. I wrote this blog post about why I believe stopping is hazardous for your health and why we need to usher in a more graceful downshift. And it was one of the most popular posts I ever it just went viral. People were sharing it, so I could see I hit on something. I mentioned earlier, when the recession hit, boomers not only watched their 401k fund losses happen, which was already going to be extending their work runway, but they were target for layoffs. They were highly compensated, and in some companies where they were tightening belts, laying off one boomer meant they could hire 2 millennials. So that was happening quite a bit, and people were referring. In fact, it was, wow, that was, 2009, 2010. Some people would say, oh, go talk to Donna Kastner. She's all over this retirepreneur stuff. She might have some ideas for you. And most people were not thinking entrepreneurial. They wanted to land that next job. The tough part was, in fact, I used to call it my 100 cups of coffee tour, because I would have cups of coffee, and we sit, and there was a whole Jim Ahern's very familiar with this territory where they're through job search, when people experience this, as there's an emotional, whole phase they have to go through before they can start clearly thinking about what they can do next. And as I would have these conversations, no, I can't start my own business. And there were definitely financial reasons. They're, got kids in college, I've got this, I've got a mortgage, need more money. The unfortunate thing was several of the people that I met with that did eventually land jobs, that took them sometimes 18 months to land that next job, and quite a few experienced another employment disruption. So I always maintain that why wait for someone to pick you when you can pick yourself, which I'll tap into in a moment. Because of ageism, okay, it's illegal and it exists. And don't kid yourself. I mean, I color my hair for a reason. And, honestly, this is part of the reality out there. And so I think that it's important to understand this. I think our society can embrace and appreciate experience and what someone calls vintage. I'll get to that in a minute. Vintage professionals, that's what we are. So once you cross that 50-yard line, it's really tricky. Seth Godin is a marketing guru. Anyone ever hear of him? I mean, I'm a marketing geek. I actually had the privilege of being one of 12 entrepreneurs that spent a day with him in his office in New York, and he is quite an interesting guy. And each of us had like 30 minutes to kind of put our business plan up there. So this was the first iteration of Retirepreneur, where I'm like, hey, I want to save the world. We're going to do Retirepreneur. He ripped me up for 30 minutes straight, but he gave me some of the best advice I've ever gotten, and he really got me to laser my lens and laser in on some target markets and some specific needs. So, but what I love about that, why wait to get picked when you can pick yourself? That comes from him, and I use that phrase a lot. The talent gap is another reason why reinventing retirement makes sense. Companies are scrambling to find talent for certain key fields, often STEM, but not only. And they're finding, it's hard to find those qualified candidates. And I think that this spells abundant opportunity for the right people in their 60s to take on, whether it's as a consultant, a trainer, helping their workforce kind of step up. Millennials are so eager, and I am not going to bash millennials. I raised 3 of them in our parenting lab, and I'm so proud of them. They're out in the world, but they're eager, and they're ready to take it all on, and they need a little more, they just need a little more experience and coaching and mentoring, and I think that's a huge opportunity for boomers right now who are looking at this transition into retirement. These are from a Deloitte and Manufacturing Institute study on where were the skill gaps happening, and there's no surprises. I mean, you've got technology and computer and technical training, but this concept of problem-solving skills and math skills, this problem-solving, really thinking through a problem, that comes with experience. And I think that's a tremendous opportunity for boomers. And I will tell you, I do a lot of training in soft skills, and I hate that we call them soft skills. I hate that speaking and writing, and this is not soft by any. In fact, as long as God blesses me with a brain that's firing on all cylinders and decent Wi-Fi, I feel like I could just keep, just as a writer, there's so much need for writers. I could just do that, till I couldn't write anymore. Where's the brain drain happening? And this is something I got into recently. I think understanding this boomer exodus is going to spell where opportunities are going to be more abundant. And yes, Ohio is number 9 on the top 10 states with the largest population of boomers. And that means that there will be more opportunity here as boomers exit, and something to consider for people that are thinking about reinventing retirement. These statistics and map courtesy of AARP. And this is a group I stumbled upon. Sharon Emick in New York City started WAVE, I think 15, 20 years ago. Work at home vintage experts. In fact, at the very same time I had that IBM PC Junior, she was working out this idea. And who knew, we were pretty close to each other geographically. But she now has a nationwide workforce in the hundreds of experienced people that want to do this downshift, that they want to work from home kind of in a little more flexible fashion. And she's uniting talent with need, very specific to the insurance industry. And she's really having great success on both counts. The clients that are hiring these people are happy. They're getting a higher caliber talent. And the people at home, there were so many stories she shared with me that this flexibility allowed people to take care of their parents or all these different life needs that this flexible arrangement enabled. So WAVE is now making those matches in the insurance industry, and they've just expanded to accounting. And I just love this model that they have, and they're really killing it. So that's one group I'll often point people to, because not everybody really wants to go out there and pound the pavement and find the business themselves. So there are some matchmakers out there, and that's a viable force. So who is best for this creative work path? Who's best? And I'm thinking the preneur part of retirepreneur. So the person that's going to kind of start their own gig. Again, I'm looking at, for me, there's two segments. This pre-retiree segment is primary in the work that I'm doing right now, because I'm thinking about them, and they're commuting back and forth to work and likely working more hours than they'd like, and getting home late and juggling a lot of demands, and then that commute, and they're stuck in traffic. They're dreaming of a day when this is not going to be happening as much. And I think they are thinking of that elegant downshift. And in a moment, I'll talk to you about why podcasting has been a great way to reach this audience, because now with Bluetooth in cars, I'm producing a podcast so they can tune in, and it's proving to be a really good way to get them thinking and to expose them to other experts who might be able to help them. Newly retired is definitely a tight second on this whole target, because today's, look in this room, this is a vibrant group. We are living longer, and we're more engaged, and there's this longing for purpose. Some people go the social entrepreneur route, which is awesome, where they are going to tackle this in a business-like fashion, but they're not to yield a profit, but more to make a difference. So anyway, I see a few success traits. One is just, joy in what you do. If you don't wake up in the morning, most mornings, happy to do what you do, then, maybe this isn't going to be your thing, or maybe you better think about a change. I will say that those who are close to what they have established experience in, staying in their specialty lane. So I've been an inventory, let's say someone's an inventory specialist. If that's the crowd that they're going to feed as a consultant, they tend to be much more successful in landing gigs, as opposed to the ones that I'm a rocket scientist, and now I think I'll be a brain surgeon. Crazy, dramatic example, but when you make a complete shift, it's a little tricky. Now, that said, I have to share a little bit of trivia with you. So you come in here on many mornings and you hear the melodious piano tunes of Phil Tobin. Yeah, Phil, we love your music. It's just like, actually, I'm like, just feeling really, it just settles me down. Because you know me, I can be running. How long do you think he's been playing? All right, that's another $1, Rich.
That's the Civil War.
I can tell you he's been reacquainted with the piano for 16 years.
Wow. There's a story there. The piano and John and Tom's son, my grandson, came on the same day.
Wow. And you explained, so, this is really incredible. Ben's wife kind of worked with you as your piano coach. What was it, Chopin?
Chopin Nocturne Number 2.
Nocturne Number 2. He was very specific, by the way, in his goal. Successful people are that specific, and they understand what they want to achieve. And over the course of 3 years, you kind of chunked it down, and you nailed what was a pretty meaty piece there.
Love it.
So, I'm too old to learn something new. Exhibit A, Phil Tobin. You are never too old to learn something new, and that's just such a remarkable story. With that said, if you enjoy what you do and you have experience, you're likely going to be more successful. MacGyver, anyone fans of the show MacGyver, the old or the new? I mean, the guys like, they're okay, I'm gonna get a pen spring and some crazy glue and a rubber band, and here we go. I just love it. So I think that successful entrepreneurs are have this MacGyver-like skill to take whatever minimal resources they have at hand and turn them into something meaningful. So I think you have to have a little bit of MacGyver in you. Some people have told me, retirepreneur.com, well, that's just too hard to spell. I'm not sure that's a good website. And I said, you know what? If you can't spell it, you're not it. It's kind of a good filter, so I think I'll keep it where it is. So, and they're trailblazers. They're leaning in. They're watching what trends are happening. They're not married as much to what happened as they are looking at, gosh, where are the trends happening and how can we capitalize on them? And I will make one big distinction. People hear entrepreneurs, you know, Jumpstart, big. I went to the pitch, in fact, and guess who I saw there? Phil Tobin at the pitch at the library. And it was some fascinating entrepreneurs. These are big enterprises they're building. These are major, and they were mostly products, new products that were going to launch this. What I'm talking about as it relates to this demographic is more what they call a lifestyle entrepreneur, and that's what I've been. I have had 4 different successful kitchen table businesses, but it was throwing off enough cash to compensate me as well, if not better, as I would in a job I would hold. But it gave me the flexibility. So I was a lifestyle entrepreneur. That said, I have hired my first employee, and I am working on hiring the next. And for Retirepreneur, I'm actually looking at creating a saleable asset. So stay tuned, because that will play out as I share that in podcasts. So we're championing a movement. The first follower is actually an underestimated form of leadership in itself. The first follower is what transforms a lone nut into a leader. Okay, I've been a lone nut for a while, okay? We all know that. It's kind of one of those charming parts, right? But when you start pushing things and people start to join you, it's amazing. So I've been doing this in a side hustle capacity. I'm water skiing behind 2 boats. 90% of my effort is earning income through my successful consulting business that I'm now turning down business to fund, to bootstrap Retirepreneur. I have been carefully exiting clients down to 1 because I have to go really full at Retirepreneur in 18 to kind of jump this get into that all the way. So I've done so with content marketing. I've done so with podcasts and through the website. And in a side hustle capacity, evenings and weekends, I've got coming up on 1,500 coming up on 2,000 followers. And so as you're producing helpful content, people want to join along. The podcast is on iTunes, so there's people that are, you know, we have at least 500 downloads every month. Infinite Dial shows that people listening to podcasts tend to be a higher level. That's why you're now seeing Harvard Business Review, and you know these are people that tend to be higher educated, higher income that are now tuning into podcasts. So it's not that crazy Wayne's World crowd 10 years ago when podcasts first hit. And then get this, in the context of getting something we had for our Rotary video to HCTV, I discover, what? I can do this myself for free. So I went charging ahead 2 months ago, and every month we're producing a Retirepreneur TV show at HCTV. It's amazing. They've got here's the little control room. They've got a 3-camera shoot, and I'm doing interviews with people. Many of you will recognize Tom Speaks. He was my first guest on Retirepreneur TV. There's Dee Dee Mulligan. I remember when I met with Barb Van Blarkum and I said, how about we kind of do a little Charlie Rose kind of set? Well, who knew that? Okay, well, maybe not Charlie Rose, but maybe something else. But the big thing that I'm doing, that I'm really pulling out the stops, is doing live workshops. And the first one happened in October at my alma mater, University of Dayton, and we pounded hard, and we got 75 great people that joined us for that event. And we also had their head of their entrepreneurial program. I will tell you, my experience design helped me to really get people talking to one another. This was not talking heads. I'm talking way longer than I typically want to, and I know I'm getting the hook. But when you create peer-to-peer connections, these are capable people. They just need to meet one another. So this is how we're starting a movement. At one point, registrations were lagging, so then I'm sitting there with bad lighting doing a 90-second heartfelt video wearing my UD logo garb. And over 5,000 people watched that for 5 seconds or more, and we filled all the seats. So I'm learning that through all this, it's amazing what can happen. What's next? I'm going to be tapping universities and holding workshops in various locations, concentrating on the Midwest. And by the way, if you have an alma mater that's looking to do a workshop for their alumni like this, what better thing but come back to the place where you started your career to reinvent this next chapter. So there you have it. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. And I'll be talking to Donna since most of you don't know I'm retiring this year. So in August, I'll be retiring. So I want to thank the greeters, Donna Kastner.
The board has to vote on that.
I know. Dave Maisel, audio-visual setup crew, Den Rich, Tom Page, Tom Tobin, James Field, and Ron Barnhouse. Hi, Ron. Also, Olivia, is today your last day with us? Oh, okay, because I didn't know if you were for the month. If everybody make sure you thank Olivia, and hopefully we will get to see you next month, but I usually it's for the month. And now the drawing for the Rotobuck. If you weren't here last week, the jackpot was won. So this week the drawing is $11 and the jackpot is $111. Do you have a ticket, Don? Oh, yeah, I do. I'll fill it in. Still let me draw. I do have a ticket.
Perfectly look good.
Yeah. The last four numbers are 4821.
Way to go, Tom.
Go, Tom.
And while Tom is going up, there is the website, Retirepreneur.
First, things first. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and I hope everyone goes out Christmas shopping. Have a good week.